Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 74 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 27. A good Saturday to all of y'all. All right, I'm off at a family wedding event, so a little different background than I normally have, but doesn't mean I still wasn't paying attention to those feeds, reporting all kinds of things happened yesterday because we've got the finale in just a little over a week. Everything has accelerated a little bit. So instead of your typical Friday schedule of nominations, we actually had nominations and veto competition both. So we're here to talk about all of it. Now, just as a reminder, Vince is HOH. His target is Keanu, it seems like, although Keanu might not quite know that yet as of yesterday. But Vince is HOH. Keanu is the target. If for some reason Keanu doesn't remain the target, then at that point, Ava would most likely be the backup target. And of course, Morgan is untouchable. Of course she is. He's not going after Morgan, no matter how much someone like Keanu may be arguing that needs to happen. It's not going to happen. So that's what we were facing yesterday as we got into the nominations. So we had nominations mid-afternoon, and when the feeds returned about 3 o'clock or so, we discover that the nominees for this round are Keanu and Ava. Really no surprise with either one. It's who he was targeting. It actually makes sense from Vince's standpoint. So worst case situation based on the nominations is Ashley is not on the block. Theoretically, Ashley could win the veto. She could then pull Ava or Keanu off the block, force Vinny to then go ahead and put up Morgan as the replacement nom because he has no one else that he could put up. At that point, Ashley and either Keanu or Ava could then vote Morgan out the door. That's the worst case situation for Vince going into the veto competition itself. Would Ashley do any of that? Probably not. Not while Keanu is still a target. And we'll actually talk about that a little bit later. So Vince is looking pretty good. Morgan's looking pretty good at this point in time. All right. Let's start with the conversations that took place after the nominations, and then we'll quickly get into the veto comp itself. We've got Ashley and Ava talking. Ashley is saying that Vince will never save Keanu, and that Morgan is always going to be protected by Vince. It's just no matter how much they talk things through, it's the way it's happening. Vince is saying what Keanu wants to hear, but at the end, he's going to protect Morgan. He's not going to go after her, and he's not going to be saving Keanu this week. Ashley is saying that Vince has done that for 4 weeks now of protecting Morgan. So why is it going to change this week as well? So we've got that. And we also have Ashley saying, if I was to win the veto, remember we just talked about worst case situation. She's saying, if I was to win the veto, I'm not going to use it on Keanu. That makes zero sense to me. I'm just not going to do it. So again, we're not going to see that worst case situation of Morgan going up on the block for Vince. But they are worried that even though Ashley doesn't want to do that, they are worried that neither one of them has any chance of winning versus Morgan. And in all honesty, probably if Morgan makes it to the end, I'm not sure that anyone has a chance of beating her at this point in a final two jury vote. So we'll see. But Ashley and Ava certainly worried about Morgan still being in this house. They're talking about that they just absolutely have to backdoor Morgan next if they want to go forward with this game. There's no more back doors, but I get what you're saying. They have to get Morgan out next if they are going to continue to play the game itself. All right, we've got Ashley talking to the cameras a little bit afterwards. She's saying right now she is locked in for final three. She just doesn't see how she doesn't make final three. And as part of that, I remember we talked worst case and that she's already told Ava she's not going to use the veto. Well, she's expanding on that a little bit. She's saying, if I was to win the veto, why should I save Keanu and then take a chance that Keanu wins HOH next? And then or not HOH, and then Keanu wins veto next, and he sends me out the door. It makes zero sense for me to take a chance saving Keanu. If things stay the way they are right now, Keanu goes home. I'm locked into final three. Morgan and Vince would take me over Ava, so I would be a final three at that point. It'd be perfect. She's saying, Keanu has already said that he would take Ava over me if it came down to a decision from him. So again, why would I possibly keep Keanu? We also saw a couple of days ago Ashley very upset with Keanu, saying evict, 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 ready to send him out the door. So I think she's ready for Keanu to head out. Ashley is thinking that if Vince was to win the final three comp, she's again thinking that she would go to a final three with Vince and Morgan. She also, I'm sure, is thinking that if something weird happened and say Ava won the next veto and Ava sends out Morgan or Vince, that she would go to a final three with Ava as well. So she's thinking she's final three no matter what. But specifically to Morgan and Vince, Ashley is thinking that if Vince was to win that final three competition, he could very likely take her instead of Morgan to the end, thinking that he has a better chance of beating Ashley than he does Morgan. What an argument that could be between Morgan and Vince if that kind of scenario presented itself. And I'm here for it. I give us something to look forward to. And certainly Vince having to make the final decision about taking Ashley or Morgan to the end could be quite entertaining to watch. Now, I personally think he would take Morgan and throw away $750,000. But it would still be fun to watch. All right, but Ashley talked to the camera saying, hey, I do have a path to victory. I just have to make it to the final three. And then maybe I can convince both of them that I'm better to take to the end than either one to take the other. And there's something to be said for that argument. Remember, Ashley is an attorney. If you get to that point, I think she can craft some arguments. I just don't see it working, but it'll be fun watching her pitch it. All right, we do have the feeds cut eventually for the veto competition itself. When they return about 7:15 or so Big Brother time, we find out that the veto competition was indeed the tiny veto. We were thinking that could be the case. The tiny veto comp where you use the little tweezers and you stack something on top of each other. I have not really heard any details about the comp itself, but it was the stacking veto competition. And our new veto holder is, well, not so new because the veto holder is Morgan. Morgan has won yet again, her fourth veto win. We heard her complain several times throughout the evening that if my math was just better, I could have beat Keanu in a tiebreaker. I could have had 5 veto wins in a row, which is pretty impressive. Not pretty, that's very impressive. She's turned it on at the end. So she's saying, yeah, another veto. She's now won 4 vetoes in a row. Props to these two, Morgan and Vince, for continuing to wield so much power over the last month. They deserve to go to the end, I suppose, and have one of them win the title at the end. They deserve it. But can I say how disappointing it was to have these two having power for yet another round of nominations and evictions, things like that. Nothing against Morgan, but I just would have preferred absolutely anyone to win the veto over Morgan just to shake things up, just to create a little chaos, just to have some other people with an opportunity for power in this house. They have wielded a lot of power over this last month, and it's just made for a little bit of boring sometimes in the way the game is played out. But hey, if you can do it, more power to you, and they certainly have done it. All right, so we have the feeds have returned. We now know that Morgan has won veto. The main thing isn't so much that Morgan has won veto. Well, she would say that's the main thing, but the most important thing isn't that she has won veto, but that Keanu has not won veto. And that probably spells the end for Keanu almost certainly. Feeds come back. We see Keanu in the backyard playing pool while talking to Vince. Vince isn't doing much talking. It's primarily just Keanu talking. Keanu is just lamenting on the way this season has gone. He's saying, man, I was just a fool for trusting you, Vince. I just kept thinking, I kept buying in that maybe I could trust you. He said, at the end, the only person I could trust was Rachel. And she then basically went home herself, sent herself home, not being able to do that maze. And that was the beginning of the end for me. I kept wanting to trust you, Vince. You just kept burning me over and over again. I was such a fool. He said, Rachel warned me not to trust you. And the fool I am, I still did it. And now Rachel is right after all. He's saying, why am I playing on a season of Big Brother where no one really wanted to have an alliance beyond just one other person? We just didn't have any more than that. It's just incredibly frustrating. He's saying, I'm realizing now that I was always playing on my own. I never had anyone supporting me. It was always me on my own. And he's right. And I think to some degree, that's kind of why I've been Team Keanu, because I see this guy wanting to try to play a game of alliances and supporting each other and all that. And he just kept getting burned over and over again. Keanu realizes it. Keanu realizes that the writing is on the wall, that he will be going home whenever the eviction takes place. And we don't know that yet. So it's going to be a little up in the air. But yeah, Keanu's coming to the end of his days in the Big Brother house. I do fear. All right, we've got Ava and Ashley talking. They're thinking that they both should be safe this week, which I think they are. But they're knowing that they need to win HOH and veto in the next round in order to take out Morgan or Vince. Actually, if either one of them wins the next veto, they don't have to win HOH. All they have to do is win the next veto, and they can take out Vince, even if Morgan wins HOH. Vince is still vulnerable. Either one of them wins veto, send Vince out the door. They realize this later. They're saying, all we have to do is win veto, and we can send one or the other out the door. Even if Morgan wins HOH, we can send Vince out. If Morgan doesn't win HOH, if one of us wins it, then that person is safe. If either of us wins veto, we could send Morgan or Vince out the door at that point in time. So there's a path actually for these two also. Ava is thinking that Morgan, they're talking about how strong Morgan has been here lately, turning on these comp wins. And Ava's saying she had to be throwing competitions earlier in the season for her not to win anything and then suddenly to win so many time after time, week after week. So she's wondering about that. Morgan's arc this season sure is reminding me a lot of how KC won season 20. Very similar, where KC just started winning a lot at the end and dominated the competitions and made it to the very end as a result. But KC's lack of a showmance and honestly a little less whining and begging and I just found KC's victory a lot more pleasurable than I have had with this season, with Morgan and Vince doing their dance they do every single week. KC was a great one to watch. This one, we'll see. We'll talk about in a postseason review. But yes, I do see a lot of similarities between Morgan and KC. All right, Vince is talking to himself. I think he was in the kitchen saying, if he could just win this next veto, if he could win this final veto, at that point, he feels like he would have a better resume than Morgan. He could beat her in a final two. I'm telling you, there's all these people who've been warning Vince, you can't beat Morgan. And he keeps saying, I know, I can't beat her. She'll beat me in a landslide. And yet I just see Vince continuing to try to convince himself that he can beat her in a final two. And so here he is again saying, hey, if I win this final veto, then that should be enough. If he won the final veto, if he also won the final three competition and drug Morgan to the very end, would that be enough for Vince to win over Morgan in a jury vote? I'm still not convinced. I just don't know how Kelly or Keanu or Lauren perhaps, would they vote? Lauren, maybe. I'm not sure Kelly or Keanu are going to be voting for Vince, no matter what Vince does from this point forward. It could be a close vote, but that is his only path to maybe having a chance. It probably is win the veto, drag Morgan to the very end. Otherwise, if he takes Morgan, yes, he loses in the landslide. But he doesn't believe that just yet. Now, as I say this, I'm sitting here thinking, if Vince won that final veto, there's probably a very good chance he takes Morgan to final three at that point in time. If he doesn't win the final veto and someone else, well, at that point, there's a good chance he goes home. I don't know. We'll talk about it next episode, but I do wonder at what point does he really realize that maybe he can't beat Morgan and starts considering the possibility of taking someone else to the final two. We'll watch that over the next few days. All right, but anyway, so we've got Vince saying, all I got to do is win this final veto, and I should still be good even against Morgan. All right, we've got Ashley talking to Keanu. She's saying, look, Keanu, I mean, nothing personal. I'm just going to be upfront and honest with you, but it makes more sense for me to keep Ava over you when it comes to the vote. And Keanu's taking that well. He's saying, nah, I get it. That's, it's fine. I do understand that. And thank you for being honest with me. He's saying, or Ashley is also telling Keanu, saying, look, you're going to see something in my goodbye message to you that's going to make everything make a lot more sense about this game right now. I'm pretty certain what she's talking about is she's going to reveal the presence of the Judges Alliance. And she's going to say something like, hey, I've been in this Judges Alliance with Morgan and Vince. And at one point it was Will and Rachel as well. We had an alliance of 5, and that's why you couldn't break us, and why I'm still part with Morgan and Vince and supported them. I think she's going to reveal the Judges Alliance to Keanu at that point in time. I assume that's what she's talking about. All right, we've got Ava and Morgan and Ashley at the hot tub. I just really not any game talk at this point. Just talking about Keanu being the underdog this season. Morgan saying poor Keanu, he wanted to be loyal, but people just kept screwing him over. Yes, we saw a lot of that ourselves. They're talking about Kelly was always stirring things up. So just a lot of talking about past house guests. Someone, I can't remember who it was, said, Kelly kept stirring things up. Kelly was what Jimmy wanted to be and never could quite make happen, but he wanted to play Kelly's kind of game. Kelly's the one who played that. So just talking a little bit about the season and past house guests, things like that. All right, we have Ava and Ashley again talking about them really needing to win this final veto competition in order to advance at that point. Ava says, I know I'll go home otherwise. Ashley, you probably do advance, but assume Keanu goes home. If one of us doesn't win this next veto, they'll pick me. They'll send me home at that point in time. Pretty certain that's going to happen. Ashley is thinking, looking ahead a little bit, she's thinking that Morgan is likely to win the final 3 competition over Vince, over her as well. And so Morgan likely would be the one who controls final 2, who she takes with her. And if that's the case, Morgan, just hand her the check right now because she walks away with it. They're talking about Keanu and Lauren, how much they love Lauren and all of that, and jury votes and just a bunch of things at this point in time. All right, we've got Vince and Morgan talking. Vince is happy. He's saying, look, we've got a 50-50 chance to win this upcoming veto, the final veto of the season. 50-50 chance. You and me versus Ava and Ashley. We've got good odds to win this thing. But Vince is worried. He says, I can't compete in the next HOH. And what happens, Morgan, if you win HOH? And then if Ava or Ashley wins the veto, I'm heading out the door. I'm in 4th place at that point in time. I could go home. But Morgan is saying, no, it shouldn't quite be that bad, Vince. I think that if Ashley was to win the veto, she's locked in with us. She's going to send Ava out. She will not send you out at that point in time. I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that Ashley would hold on to Vince in that particular situation. Perhaps. We shall see. But Morgan's saying the only thing that could be a problem is if Ava won that veto. And then, if I win HOH, yes, you could be in trouble. If neither one of us wins it, then who knows what happens. Nothing is guaranteed at this point in time, other than Morgan and Vince making it to the Final 4. But beyond that, nothing is set in stone. All right, Vince is wondering if Keanu maybe has been bad-mouthing him and Morgan to Ava and Ashley. They've noticed them talking a lot. Well, it's because these two are hanging out so much together. Morgan and Vince are studying the days and events quite a bit in preparation for these last few competitions. We've got Vince and Ava talking. Vince is talking about having made 14 nominations of 9 different people this season. We're starting to get a feel for what Vince's argument is going to be if he does make a final 2 versus Morgan or with anyone else. He's going to say, look, I won the more important conversations, important competitions. I won HOHs. She just won vetoes. I won the HOHs. I had to make much more difficult decisions with all these nominations, all the different people. So I had a much tougher game to play. We can see where Vince is going to be heading with this as he talks about how many people he had to put up. Several times he said, I had to put up more than half the house. More than half the house got put up because of me. And now I'm sitting there asking for jury votes and all of that. Vince is telling Ava while they talk that if it came down to it, final 2, he really would rather be sitting next to Ava. Ava is saying, hey, Vince, I hope you do. And that'd be fantastic. But she's saying, you're in a pretty good spot, Vince. Worst case scenario is you come in 2nd place and you get $75,000. Not too bad, not too shabby right there. That's your worst case situation. And Vince is saying, no, actually, worst case situation is I come in fourth place. That's the bottom level right now. Ava is saying, hey, you say that as that you could get sent home, and I'm just wondering, Vince, are you kind of asking me for my vote in case maybe I was to win Final Four veto and you were vulnerable because you can't win HOH? Are you kind of asking me for your vote at this point in time, Vince? So she's kind of hinting around at that. Vince is saying that he knows that Morgan beats him in the landslide. So he keeps saying, I got to be so careful with my words here. So careful. But he says, but I do know that she could beat me. So, take from that what you will as far as if I would want to go to the end with her. He's talking about Ava and Ashley, who might have more jury votes between the two of them if it was him versus Ava, him versus Ashley in final two, trying to figure out who could have whose votes at that point in time. Ava is hitting hard with Vince, pushing hard at this point in time, as she should. Glad to see her playing the game. She's saying, look, if you take Morgan to the end, Vince, you lose. That's just it. You lose. She says, if you take Ashley to the final three, at that point, would Ashley take you if it came down to it, or would she take Morgan? She says, if you hold on to Ashley over, I don't know, me, then you're going to have to be fighting Morgan for Ashley's vote on how to proceed, how to go forward. Don't have to worry about that with me. But with Ashley, she may support Morgan more than you. So just keep that in mind, Vince. Ava is saying Morgan is smart and saying, on the other hand, too, remember this, Vince, that Morgan, pretty smart. She might take Ashley over you when it comes down to it. She won't take me. If it's you, me, and Morgan, she won't take me over you, but she may take Ashley over you. So think about that when it comes time to figure out who you want for your final three. She's also saying that against her, Vince has a chance. Not certain that Vince can win against anyone else, but certainly against Ava, Vince does have a chance to win. And Vince starts trying to go through who maybe would have, whose votes he would have versus whose votes he wouldn't have. I did hear him say Keanu is one of the votes that he thought he would probably have. I don't think so. I think Keanu is going to be a very bitter juror. We've heard him say that basically if he's not voting for Vince. If Morgan, I think he told Ava or Ashley, if Morgan's not on the block, either of you have my vote. In other words, Vince is not getting my vote at this point in time. All right, we've got Ava talking to Vince. Ava's telling him that, so continuing conversations, telling Vince that Ashley is already saying she made top three. She's already thinks she's there, Vince. So, you worry about four. Well, Ashley's already saying she's three. So, yeah. How dare she say she's top three already, Vince? Morgan eventually comes out a little bit later. She's talking all about her birthday, which is on Sunday. Quite the Sunday, the birthday celebration this year for Morgan. But she's talking about that. She's wondering what she will get for a birthday treat from production, wondering if Lauren, I can't remember who else celebrated the birthday in the house, saying, did they get alcohol? Am I going to get alcohol for my birthday? She's asking Ava if she'll bake her cake for her because she doesn't know how to bake. And Ava says, yeah, I'll bake your birthday cake for you. So she's very focused now on her birthday celebration on Sunday. All right, we've got Ava and Ashley talking. Ashley is saying that Keanu was asking her to vote to save him over Ava, and that at that point, then Vince could break the tie and save Keanu. And she's saying, "Hey, more power to him. There's no chance, but he's fighting a fight. He's fighting to the very end." And she says something about hate the player, but not, or hate the person, but not the players. I don't know, something. But respects to him from her that he's still trying at the very end. She says, "It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to vote to save him and keep him potentially in the game, but he's fighting to the very end." Ava's saying, how mad would Morgan be if you actually voted to save Keanu and got into that kind of situation? And Ashley's saying, yeah, well, bad enough that it would probably keep me from making final three. So, yeah, it ain't going to happen. But he tried. Why not? Go for it. They're agreeing that if Vince is smart, he'll know that he can't beat Morgan in the final two, and he should take one of them instead because of that if he has a chance. Ava's saying, I can't win. And at this point, I can't win against any of y'all guys. So I'm just here to watch the downfall of Vince. As am I, Ava. I feel very much in sync with you. At this point in time, I just wanted to see the chaos. I'm trying to be objective as I talk about the feeds and everything going on, but I do feel like I'm just here to watch the enjoyment of watching Vince a little bit delusional and maybe watch his downfall as well. Nothing personal against him, but I just I want everyone to face the good and bad in this house, and I want maximum drama as we get to the end. And Vince overestimating what could happen could be some drama going forward. So yeah, Ava's just here to watch his downfall, as are a lot of us. Ava. All right, we got Morgan and Vince. I try to be objective. I really am, guys, but I'd be okay with that. All right, Morgan and Vince are in the HOH bed with more studying of dates and memories and everything like that, getting ready for those competitions, talking about what these next few competitions could be as well. So they're going over that. Finally, Ava or Morgan is in bed, and it looks like she's trying to sleep, getting ready to sleep. Vince is still up. He's doing laundry and things. There was a lot of talk saying, hey, this could be basically it for the backyard, for the hot tubs. Depending on how the rest of this week plays out, we may or may not get the backyard. We don't know if that's going to be the case or not. So everyone's trying to do their laundry and all that. Vince is typical, last one up, still doing his laundry. Everyone else in bed. This is about 4 o'clock or so, Big Brother time. So with that, I'm calling it. There's not anything else I don't think that's going to take place tonight. And there you have it, guys. So the big event is that Keanu, Ava on the block, bigger event. Keanu has not won veto. Morgan has. Keanu should be going home whenever we get this eviction. And there was talk about apparently the house guests had heard it was going to be an immediate eviction. And then later it was clarified that no, it's going to be a unique eviction. We don't know what that means, but Keanu should be going home with this unique eviction. We'll have our final 4 set, and then we'll have a little campaigning, but we're getting right down near to the end of it, guys. All right, y'all have a fantastic Saturday. Enjoy every bit of your college football, everything else that's going on. No veto comp that's going on this afternoon. Could be an eviction. We don't know, but I will be back tomorrow morning to let you know what did happen, and we'll talk about it some more then. Guys, have a great one. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.